Avery with it. What kind of chart is this? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. A, B, C. Can I do Ethereum later? Alright, I'll take a look at it. I haven't looked at crypto in a very long time. What's going on, everyone? What's going on? What's going on, PW? What's going on, Izzy? Dubs. What's going on? What a nice Tuesday. A beautiful gap up. A day where you pretty much just see everything rip and pretty much leave you in the dust. That's what kind of day it was. I think by like 10:30, 11 o'clock, everything was already just like mooning. You literally just got dollar change, pretty much if you were just scalping, basically. But I guess not many people out there tonight. All right, well, we'll get started. Make it pretty brief anyway, as well. But we'll cover what I feel is necessary to cover, and then I'll take a look at Ethereum because I did see you mention that early. So I'll take a look at that. But let's pretty much just get started. I'll touch bases on what I pretty much think is going to happen with the market here. And so all signs are pretty much pointing to a drastic move, is what I see. That's going to happen. Of course, if you actually saw the end of the day, we actually had a level 5 put alert on SPY. That actually raised a lot of eyebrows because now, after seeing the drastic move that we had on Friday, we had that massive run on Friday. Then we had a massive drop come Monday. And now we had another massive run today. So as you saw, the volatility has been very crazy because of how drastic the moves have been these 3 days. And that's what's raising a red flag, even in the bond market, which I'll actually show as well. But I'm actually looking at VIX first because, as you see, you have an expanding wedge here, and you actually are bouncing out of support right now at this point. So that's what I was looking at, is the key level of support that we ended up bouncing. And so that is leaving this uptrend to all of this area up to about 28 level. And if we do see the volatility tomorrow, this is going to likely spike. And so that's why I just wanted to raise that red flag, give everyone that awareness of where the current level is that it's holding on this expanding. So it is holding that support level, and that's what you're going to want to see tomorrow. Do we continue to hold that level? If so, maybe if we break down and fill the gap below, maybe we have some kind of good news. But if not, then we're likely going to see some kind of uptrend here in VXX, and that's not going to be good for the markets. Now, SPY, different story here. And what I'm actually looking at SPY is that this is not looking too good. This is more of a descending, broadening wedge, in which, as you saw, each leg that we've made has been a drastic move, like I just mentioned. That's pretty much where I'm expecting now, but this move is going to be drastically down to the bottom, in which we're pretty much going to bottom out. Whether it be exactly tomorrow, maybe it takes a little bit more time. No, that's pretty much up to see. The key part that I'm noticing now is that we actually have a lot of job data that's going to be coming out. Tomorrow we actually have ADP employment data that's going to come out in the morning. Thursday we have our regular job loss claims. And then Friday is actually going to be non-farm payrolls. So this is something that you really have to keep an eye on because it looks like those job numbers are really going to be a, more or less a story of where we're headed right now and what's going to end up happening if those numbers disappoint. But I am expecting a drop down. How drastic? It's looking like it's going to be something drastic. Like I said, you saw a big move Friday. We rallied hard. We saw our eyes bleed on Monday, and now we just literally just mooned today by 10 o'clock Eastern. We were already up big. So I'm expecting at least one more big move in either direction. Whether we end up pushing to break the resistance here, hopefully maybe we have good data and this pattern actually fails, because remember, every pattern can fail. But if we end up breaking this high of this resistance here at that 434.85, then we are talking about going into this gap fill. So that would be if we have good data tomorrow. So we can play either way, but from what the pattern's telling me, it is that we are bearish right now. And as you see, you have a defined level of resistance, and we just capped that resistance. So that's the worrying part right now. If we break this resistance line tomorrow, then bulls keep riding. If we end up continuing to drop down, we get below this gap that's inside of the wedge, below 429, then bulls are really in trouble. And then likely we're going to end up bottoming out somewhere near between 422. That's around the level that I'm looking at. And that's where we're going to find the bottom to go long for pretty much into earnings season, is what I would expect that to be the actual bottom for right now. Okay. So that's SPY chart. I thought I actually had something here. Actually, yeah, just so you get, for those of you that are not aware of the pattern, I'm actually going to just show you pretty much what it actually looks like. I thought I actually had it here, but it looks like it's not. But this pretty much looks identical to what you're looking at that I just posted there. And so as you see, you make that zigzag, and then the last leg down pretty much looks like the longest leg of all. And that's what I pretty much just wanted to pretty much make everyone aware of. So today was actually, you heard me into a market close. I was like, I don't know if I should be swinging. I don't even know what to swing, because I didn't like the position that the market was. It was pretty much a large kangaroo market because of how big the moves have been in these past 3 days. And so it looks like we're getting that declining support. We're going to get that last leg down, and then we're going to get that breakout to the upside right into earnings season if we continue to hold from that standpoint. Okay. So that's what I'm seeing with SPY. Let me just get into QQQ as well. Pretty much same scenario here. You have the same type of formation, just a little bit different. But again, you have that room all the way down to that gap fill that we have below. Right below 350, 348. You're looking at that gap, and then you're looking to set a new low here, in which that's actually going to be the bottoming of QQQ. And as I actually heard, I believe it was Yopan that mentioned there was a large dark pool print that came through on Amazon. That's likely going to be in favor of this downside. And I'll get to the chart of what it's actually showing. And then there was also a lot of puts that came through for Apple. Okay. So, and I also do have a chart for Apple as well. So getting right into that, let me actually get the Amazon chart, show you pretty much what's looking on Amazon. I think I can get out to the daily. The daily pretty much just paints a nice big picture. But as you see, you pretty much have a defined head and shoulders. You have that left shoulder, you have your head with that massive gap in between, and you have your right shoulder, and you have a clean neckline right now, in which you're right at that neckline. So one drop below that neckline, and yeah, we're gonna see that flush with how QQQ and SPY is setting up as well. So that's what I want to present. Obviously, we've seen a lot of head and shoulders been voided. So until it actually breaks the neckline, then that's a different scenario. We can end up seeing this continuing to rally, in which those dark pool prints are really going to seem that, there's a lot of buyers rather than sellers. Okay. So that's one. The other one was Apple. Following up with this, I actually do see that there's one more leg down on this, because I can see this coming down to that 137 level, in which that's where it's going to likely bottom. And then we're going to see this get a nice breakout. So hopefully this is a 1 day drastic move is what I'm likely expecting. And that's likely going to be off of the job data, possibly even tomorrow, or possibly it's news based. It could be either or. It could be the data or it could be news based. Who knows? By the time morning comes, a lot of things can happen. Okay. So that's that. The other thing I wanted to mention was the move in the bond yield. If you didn't hear me on live, I did mention that there was the move that we actually saw today was about close to a 6 cent move in the bond market, in the 10-year bond yield. That's not a typical movement in the bond yield. Okay, so that means there's still a lot of volatility going on. And as you see those volatility Friday, Monday, and today, It's a lot of drastic moves going on right now. And so this just pretty much just tells you that there's a lot of unusual movement, and that's what you want to be aware of. Of course, the level of it being over that 150 level, that's a major concern because it looks like it wants to break out continuing more higher. But the fact that it moved to almost 6 cents, that's what I want to make sure everyone's aware of, and that's an unusual movement. It should not be moving 6 cents in just a day. All right. Pointing out to some events coming up, we actually saw the news on Palantir. Let me actually get out to the daily and actually show what I was looking at before the news broke. I actually had a nice little rising wedge in formation. We actually broke down, and then now we actually popped it right back into the wedge. And so right now we're gonna see if this ends up holding tomorrow. If market holds up, then I likely see this pushing higher. And if you guys remember, this is actually a pretty much a low-key name on WSB for Wall Street Bets. So if they end up getting their hands and start buying this up, this could see some FOMO, and we could see a nice push up to that $30 mark, in which that'll be the resistance of the rising wedge. Okay, and that'll be a determinant factor whether we see continuation into this gap or not. Until it breaks that resistance, 30 is pretty much the top level what I'm looking at. And then also, if the market does look bad, then we can end up seeing this break right below that support level right again, as it did already. Okay, so that's one to keep on watch tomorrow. That $30 mark or that level of support, if it breaks, that's going to be the key that you want to take a look at. Okay. Another one that I actually found out after close, and you probably heard me talking about Tesla all day today, and this was just a beauty to play, was that I actually found out they actually have their shareholder meeting on Thursday. So we understand why it's pretty much flat here. But what I wanted to point out was that we have a nice little wedge that's in formation here. And as you see how tight it is right now, we're going to get a nice either a breakout or a nice dump here. So that's something to keep in mind right now. If we end up dumping, I'm looking to see if we're going to hold that 769 level. That's going to be a level that I do want to see. Going into that shareholder meeting, I don't expect this to bleed out if market volatility kicks in tomorrow. So that 769 level should hold. But we're going to see a nice swing out of this wedge either direction, and that's going to likely be tomorrow. But again, shareholders meeting is on Thursday, so if it does end up presenting itself as a buying opportunity, it may be a nice little gap up into Thursday morning into that shareholder meeting that they're going to have. So keep that in mind. It may present itself as a buying opportunity to hold overnight tomorrow night. Okay, so that's one to keep on radar as well. Let me see what else I had noted. I also have GM. They also have their event tomorrow as well, in which they're going to lay out their plans, pretty much what there's going on with their batteries, what their production is going to be looking like. And if you remember, this was actually a newsletter play. So keep this one on watch. It did spike right into the gap here, if you remember. And big picture, it broke the downtrend. It retested, and now it made that push. That little wick went right into the gap fill, and then we pulled back. So watch for that as the event starts. I got to check what time that is going to be tomorrow. So check in chat by tomorrow morning. We'll have some kind of update of what time that's going to be taking place. But we could see some drastic movement out of that if pretty much if analysts like what's being said, because there been pretty much bad news surrounding their production. Compared to a name like Tesla, their production has been lagging very much. And so that's been the downfall, keeping this name down. And so until they ramp up production, I think that's really what's holding the stock back. So that's something that I think is going to be a very key point tomorrow in what they're going to be saying. So that's a name to another name to keep on watch as well. Other than that, that was pretty much the watch list that I had. As far as the big tech names was Tesla, Amazon, and Apple. Those were the three that really stood out to me. Taking a look real quick, because I did see someone actually mention about Ether. I'll take a quick look at it, which I haven't really looked at crypto in quite a while. This is more of a straight thing, but let me see what this actually looks like. So we had that nice double top right here on Ethereum. We had that double top right around that 77, and this is actually Ether Classic. Wow. Okay, so I had the wrong one. My bad. All right, so do we have a little bit of a cup and handle formation here? Looks a little bit like a cup and handle formation. I do like that. It's a nice little cup and handle formation. I see that resistance that we have right there. I see that pullback that we had, in which we are breaking out of. So that's a nice, I could actually make that down here, as that's where we wicked off as well. So you have a nice little wedge that was in formation right out of here. And I think I can bring that down just a bit. There we go. So we're pretty much looking at that nice little handle. We're already in the breakout pretty much. We want to see this break over that 39.81, and then that'll be your pretty much your explosive move right out of this cup and handle. Sorry. So that's pretty much the level of what you're looking at. That was pretty much a clean cup and handle that you have. And so that break over that 39.81 is really going to bring in a lot more buyers. And that's where you're going to see this end up breaking out. I can see this hitting that 4,000 within seconds, probably, because 39.81 is right there. I mean, long-term goal 5,000 is that ballpark number. So keep that in mind. But that's definitely, there's no doubt that Ether and Bitcoin is both going higher. All right. Now the other names I haven't looked at that. I'll take a look at those at another time. I'll see if I get those posted on my Twitter. But Ether and Bitcoin, there's no doubt that they're both going higher. Someone actually mentioned Netflix real quick. Let me see. I think Netflix already made its move for the most part, looking at the daily. Now, if I want to look at the resistance of where we're really going to cap out at, this is really what I would be looking at. Is that I'm looking at this resistance level of where the move is actually topping out at. And so if we end up making some kind of gap up by morning, then we're likely looking close enough to that 744, 745 mark, in which that'll be that resistance level that I'm looking at to get some kind of retracement off of this massive move that we just had, which looks pretty much like a 5 wave up. Okay, so that'll be the level. The move's pretty much mostly done for the most part. If we end up breaking this resistance, then that's literally 650 would be the mental target right there. But I don't expect this to make a further move than that just quite yet. It does need to consolidate this move that it's already made, going at least going sideways. Probably a nice little ABC formation here that gives you a consolidation before we continue to make a higher move. And then likely earnings is also going to be coming up, so that's another thing to take in consideration where we end up getting some kind of drop off consolidation and then that run up into earnings. So at this point, I would actually have to see it break this resistance line for me to get any kind of further interest. But this is definitely where I think it's going to get some kind of consolidation run here. All right. Other than that, those are the names that I was pretty much watching. We'll see what the market gives us tomorrow because of the fact that we've had so much drastic moves. And as you see, NASDAQ is already kind of bleeding here. ES is already bleeding. And if you didn't catch my first remarks of when I said of all the data that's coming, as you see tomorrow, 8:15, ADP employment. Thursday, job loss claims. And then Friday, we have non-farm payrolls. So it's a big week for pretty much employment in general. And so that's what you definitely want to keep an eye on because I think that's going to be the telling story of what that market direction is really going to be doing. All right. Can I look at Adder? All right. That'll be my last request, real quick. I'll take a look at it. Adder. What are you doing, Adder? Let's see if this looks like more so of a wedge formation. I'm not seeing anything I particularly like too much, but if I'm looking at this, the wedge is getting very tight. Yeah, that's a pretty tight wedge. So you definitely want to see some kind of directional move out of this. And that actually needs to go up just a bit. Alright. Okay, don't cooperate. Alright, so there goes your wedge right there. So it is very tight. You want to see how this is going to make its move. Now, if I do see support, that support is right around 712 level. I don't want to see it get down to that level. Actually, there's another level of support around that 7.99 mark, so call it $8 will be that level of support if you see it breaking that support level here. Now, if we do get some kind of move up, then that level of support that I'm looking at is right around that $12 mark, in which you could see that $12 area. Now, longer term, this is not looking too great. I don't really like the projection of where this is going right now, because in order for me to get a larger projection, a bigger picture, then let me see the level that we need to break here. Let's see a nice little level that it actually had a lot of consolidation up and under, a lot of resistance. Yeah, it would need to break right around this level, right around the 1470 level would be where I need to see it end up pushing out of. But I don't necessarily see it getting up to that level, to be honest with you. I I mean, Tom will actually probably blow this up and probably give you some kind of crazy target in which he's going to say it's going to go to $40, $50. But it is a very tight range right now, so you're going to get a nice directional move out of this. Either you're going to get down to that $8 level, or you're going to get up to that $12 level, and that will be where I would say is your near term targets on that wedge breakout. All right. But other than that, let's see what the market does tomorrow, because from what I'm seeing, all the things that I'm looking at, the bond yield, from the all the little wedges that we have going on with SPY, with QQQ, that level of support on VXX. We also had the level 5 put alert on the major flow. I don't like all that adding up together. So for that reason, I am leaning bearish overnight here. Those drastic moves that we had, the volume was not looking so great. The flow was not looking so great for the drastic moves that we did have. And so for that reason, I'm leaning bearish. I am actually holding some SPY puts overnight after I saw the level 5 that came out. So I do have some SPY puts. They're actually pretty far dated, about 2 weeks out. So I'm not worried if for whatever reason we see a nice little gap up. It is what it is. But then I'll consider whether I want to end up, hitting a stop loss or whatever the case may be. But pretty much just laying out that game plan for you, seeing everything that I'm looking at from the market standpoint. And if you see from the standpoint of where we actually bled out on Monday, the market sentiment has not necessarily changed. And that's pretty much the last remarks I'll leave with you guys. We haven't seen any sentiment in which everything's been better. We've seen the relief rallies come Friday, come today, but the real bleed out that we had on Monday, we don't really see any sentiment that's changed that's causing the fear in the markets right now. And with job numbers here, I fear that's actually going to get worse. We still have the fact of the debt ceiling that's still in play. We still have tapering that's still in place. So there's still a lot of fear that can spook the market on top of these job numbers that are going to be coming out within these next 3 days. Okay. So those are just things to keep an eye on. But other than that, let's see if we end up breaking resistance. If you remember, keep an eye on the resistance levels that we actually had with the formations that I actually outlined on SPY. If we end up breaking the resistance, then hey, bulls are still in control at this point, and we have that gap fill that's going to be in place. So those are things to keep in mind. But other than that, I'll leave you guys with that tonight, and we'll see what futures do tomorrow morning. Again, the data is going to be coming out for ADP employment come 8:15 tomorrow morning Eastern. So keep an eye on that result and then how the market reaction is. All right. But other than that, that kind of wraps up the session tonight, guys. We'll see you guys on live tomorrow then. All right.